And joining us right now is Republican Congressman from New York, Nick LaLota. It's good to see you, Congressman. Thanks for jumping on. So you, just for everyone's, just a refresher, if you will, you voted against Jim Jordan. You voted twice now. You voted for former Congressman from New York, Lee Zeldin. What do you think is going to happen today?
We're told that we might be voting around noon today. And if we do, I don't expect a different result. In fact, I expect there to probably be more Republicans against Mr. Jordan. For weeks, for as long as he's been campaigning for this office, I have asked him, Mr. Scalise, and Mr. Hearn, who were also campaigning for this office, to show me a plan, to keep the government open while securing the border, while cutting spending, while at the same time, for my constituents, funding the World Trade Center health program, to fund the flood insurance program, to do other things vital for our country. And so far, nobody has the votes, nor has assuaged mine and my constituents' concerns. That's why my vote won't change today.
You have been clear about what you want to hear from the next speaker to earn your support. It seems very obvious then that one can assume that Jim Jordan has done none of that. Is there a promise or I won't even call it a concession. Is there a promise he could make to you that would win your support at this point? Do you trust him?
Well, first things first, the campaign for Speaker is usually something that takes months, if not years, to build. One builds a team and relationships and builds a legislative record and a consensus around him or her to get to the speakership. And now we're trying to do it within 14 days, and those relationships are not quite mature just yet. I have been speaking for those couple of weeks about what it would take to get me to yes. I am in discussions with Mr. Jordan and his team about it, but no, I haven't been assuaged yet. And I'm not just going to settle for a promise. Oh, yeah, hey, Nick, that sounds good. I'll work on that. I want to see people co-sponsor bills, sign letters, and maybe make social media posts making a firm commitment to keeping our government open while we make progress on the budget and border, and to do things important for my constituents. I'm not just going to take somebody's word for it and be disappointed a couple of weeks or a couple months later after they take the gavel. I want to see demonstrable plans with solid commitments before I lend my vote to anybody.
You have been open to seeing Patrick McHenry's powers expanded as a temporary speaker in light of the mess, if you will. If it takes Democrats to get that approved, are you okay with it?
Well, let's take a step back. I don't think a single vote of the House is required for the temporary speaker to act. It's inherent in the title. In the absence of a bona fide speaker, a temporary speaker can, and I would suggest should, act. That is the very point of having the job. It was contemplated post 9/11 for the continuity of our government. If there was a vacancy in the office of speaker, all business should not stop. That's purely illogical and counter to the very title itself. Don't get confused, because there's a couple of Latin terms in there called pro tempore. It's a temporary speaker. Mr. McHenry absolutely has the authority to act, and I think this is the time where he should act.
You have shared on social media one of the threats that you have received because you have voted against Jim Jordan for Speaker. Other members, other Republicans have received threats, even spouses of some members have received threats. Why do you think this is happening?
Because there's a couple of jerks in our world who, if they can't get their way, they need to take to social media and make those sort of threats. It's probably some kid in their mom's basement just having a bad night. I won't be deterred by those threats. They're un-American, but I'm not going to be deterred by those threats. I'm a military veteran. My dad was a cop, and both of my grandfathers are cops. My stepdad was a Navy man, brother a Marine sniper. These sorts of things won't move me off of my position. I am resolved to ensure that my constituents get what they deserve along this process. It's unfortunate that some of the dialogue, especially on the internet, has devolved into this. But I tell you what, there's some pretty strong members who are standing their ground right now, and I'm one of them, and I won't be deterred.
President Biden is going to be speaking tonight to make, as the White House has said it, a direct appeal to the American people to continue supporting and funding Ukraine and obviously in the war against Russia, and also to fund and support Israel amid those war efforts. The White House is going to be requesting something north of like $100 billion from Congress to deliver, and this is for Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and also the U.S. border with Mexico. Are you going to support that? Obviously, details matter, but are you open to supporting that?
I think it's problematic to jam each of those three initiatives into the same discussion. There are significant issues at our border, and the Biden administration is failing miserably every day with securing our border. Yes, we need more technology. Yes, we need more border agents. And absolutely, we need more physical barriers to secure our southern border. It's the cause for many drugs and weapons and human trafficking coming across our border. And the President and Secretary of Mayorkas absolutely must do a better job at that. Congress has given them the resources to do so. Now the executive branch has to step up. As far as Ukraine, public support for sending more and more money to Ukraine is cratering in my district and others. And my constituents have questions as to where the money is going, what is the actual mission there. I don't subscribe to just throw more money at winning the war. Absolutely, Putin is an evil dictator. Absolutely, he was wrong to invade Ukraine. But we need to hear a bona fide plan from the Secretary of Defense, from the President, as to what those dollars will actually buy Americans, and an audit to make sure they're not falling into the hands.
I hear that. I mean, I've heard that from a lot of Republicans, Congressman, but if it is wrapped together with critical support for Israel and also includes money for the border, do you vote against that?
Well, we need to see the entire package end. The Secretary of Defense and the President need to tell the Congress specifically what is the war plan in Ukraine. How do we ensure that those precious American dollars, while we have priorities in our own country, aren't wasted? So if they're going to package them all as a omnibus bill, concurrent with that, they must come and explain themselves to representatives in the House to ensure our taxpayer dollars are protected.
Now we'll begin tonight with the President's primetime address. Congressman, thank you for your time today. John?
Thanks. Good morning.